Hersheypark, as many of you guys know, is hyped up to be one of the best amusement parks in America, and maybe even the entire world. For that reason, I feel lucky to be able to claim Hersheypark as my secondary home park, as it's only around 2 hours away from me, maybe a little less. However, saying that's my secondary home park might sound a bit misleading because there was a 5-year stretch from 2016 to 2021 where I never stepped foot inside the park. That's not anything to do with the park. Hersheypark is my second favorite park, in fact. It's just that I never had a car or anything, and Six Flags passes are over $100 cheaper than Hersheypark passes, so I didn't really get to Hersheypark for a while. However, I recently, on May 2nd, 2021, made my first visit to Hersheypark in 5 years, and it was absolutely incredible because it was like a whole new park to me. I mean, sure, I had been to the park 5 times from 2012 to 2016, but this was my first visit to the park as an enthusiast, so I never really had a solid gauge of the park until now. Now that I do, I can tell you that Hersheypark 100% lives up to the hype of being one of the best parks in America, and I'll go over how I got to that conclusion in this trip report. Also, before I really dive into this, I have just a few things I want to mention. First of all, I'll flat out say that the series I'm starting is based off a similar series from Airtime Thrills, where he talks about his experiences at parks. I just much prefer this style to the typical vlog, so this is what I'm going with. And second, I don't have an actual camera, and the camera on my phone is not great, so I typically don't take footage at parks. Because of that, I'm going to be using non-copyright footage graciously uploaded by people like Canobie Coaster and ElToroRyan. So if I talk about the circumstances of my visit and there's some footage in here that doesn't really match up, that's why. Now let's go right into how my visit to Hersheypark went, and what that new most underrated coaster I found is. Now, we of course have to start at the beginning of my entry experience, and I'm going to have very few negative things to say in this video. Hersheypark is a nearly perfect park, but I do not understand their mobile ticketing. So they do have an app, and you can buy tickets on the app, but even if you buy tickets on the app, you for some reason aren't able to view them or pull them up on the app. Like, you know, if you have a Six Flags pass, that app is so easy because there's that button in the corner that you press and your tickets come up. But the Hersheypark app has no feature to pull up tickets. Now that I've gotten that over with, the new Chocolate Town area is of course incredible. Their old entrance was nice and didn't really need to be replaced, but this one is still quite a bit better. Everything seems very fresh as it should. It opened last year, and the entry atmosphere felt really live, contrary to how it did the old entrance. Once we did get into the park, we were originally going to go straight for Skyrush, but they had the main entrance to the park blocked off, and Candymonium was the only ride open, so we just decided to hop on that. Well, we were going to, but Hersheypark then proceeded to, I think, break a record for the quickest ride breakdown after park opening. It was -3 minutes because it broke down with guests on board at 10:57 a.m., 3 minutes before the park officially opened. We waited until around 11:15, and at that point I saw a maintenance guy walking the track, like on the actual track, so we decided that'd probably be down for a little while and went back to our original plan of booking it for Skyrush. Now, if you've been watching this channel for a little bit, you know that I have a history with Skyrush. It had been down every visit where I was tall enough to ride, so this would hopefully be a new credit for me, my 83rd credit to be exact. So we got to it, and what do you know? It was not broken down! The line was pretty short, 15 minutes max. I said hi to Comet Coasters, who was operating the ride. Really cool dude, you should go follow him on Instagram. I got a back row left wing seat ride. Long story short, I have a new number 2 coaster. I'll save my full thoughts for the ranking video I do, but Skyrush took the best drop I've ridden, best positive G's I've experienced, the best whip, the best airtime, the best pacing, and combined it all into one ride. And also, you heard it here first, Skyrush has good restraints. I thought nothing was going to top that ride for the rest of the day, and yeah, probably nothing did, but my next ride was actually somewhat close. Our next ride was on Fahrenheit, and notice how the title of the video is, I found a new most underrated coaster. Yep, it's Fahrenheit. Whoever said that the first half of Fahrenheit is forceless should get their voice box eaten by a parakeet. I almost never gray out on coasters, but my vision was gray for pretty much the entire first half of Fahrenheit. Fahrenheit also just has everything I value most in a coaster: insane airtime, insane positive G's, extreme pacing, unique elements, and a variety of different types of elements. This thing jumped 12 spots in my personal rankings from number 18 to number 6. Because of the line that it can get, we next decided to hit Laugh Track, where we did encounter our longest line of the day, around 35 minutes. My friend got this cool picture when we were in line that serves as 100% proof that I've been working out. About the ride though, I thought the first drop was fantastic. It was really steep and I went down it backwards, but the rest of the ride I wouldn't even say borders a thrill coaster. Next we hit up Laugh Track's next door neighbor, Lightning Racer, which was so much better than I remember it being. It moved just inside my top 25 because it had everything that I look for in a GCI. It was smooth, it had many moments of great airtime, it had sharp laterals, and it kept a fast pace even until the very end. Also, the racing was perfectly executed as we could hardly tell who crossed the finish line first. And if you're wondering what side I rode, listen to HersheyAddict. Team Thunder, baby. After that, we decided that it was probably high time and got some lunch, but while we were wandering over to Chickies and Pete's using the app's wonderful feature where you can get directions to different places in the park, we were passing Wildcat and decided to take a ride on it. And even though I rode in the second row, Wildcat has easily repassed Boss as now the roughest coaster I've ridden. I swear, that thing is having an identity crisis and thinks it's a massage chair. But honestly, that's what I like most about it. I think if it wasn't ridiculously rough, it would be a pretty boring ride, but the roughness made it feel insanely out of control and created airtime where there shouldn't be airtime from the ride bouncing you out of your seat. After our experience on Wildcat, we decided that we would then go get some lunch and went to the nearby Chickies and Pete's. I got some crab fries, which are essentially french fries smothered in Old Bay seasoning, and it's amazing. After each of us ate a big old bucket of fries for lunch, we all agreed that we should probably ride a tamer ride to let the food settle. We were originally going to go over to the Coal Cracker Log Flume, but along the way we ran into Trailblazer at the mine train, and thought that was probably the perfect ride for that moment. Trailblazer was decent, it's just a mine train, but it's so unnaturally smooth, yet at the same time there's some jank transitions. Our plan was still to go to Coal Cracker after that, but when we got there, we figured that the line had to be at least an hour. I mean, it was 85 degrees and sunny, so it makes sense, and thus we didn't ride. Instead, we wandered over to Great Bear, which had hardly any line, even for the front row. I was worried that it wouldn't quite live up to my amazing memories, but no. It was even better than I remember, and this is by far the best invert I've ridden over Batman the Ride, Raptor, and Dragon Challenge. At that point, we checked the app, which said the Candymonium was now open, and that would be my second new credit of the day and my second B&M hyper ever. I rode in the front row, and every single hill gave 3 to 5 seconds of sustained float airtime, and I love the unique elements in the second half. It has easily passed Raging Bull as my favorite B&M hyper. At that point, our plan was just to ride all the rest of the coasters we hadn't ridden yet, and maybe get some re-rides if we had time. If I was by myself, I probably would have ridden Skyrush at least 5 or 6 times, but I was with my GP friends, and they don't really like to ride the same ride over and over. After Candymonium, we headed over to Comet, which blew my expectations away and was so much better than I remembered, just like literally every coaster in the park. After my ride on Lightning Racer, I remember specifically saying that Comet couldn't be my favorite Woody in the park anymore. But after riding Comet, yep, it's still the best wooden coaster there. Incredible airtime, laterals, and it's so ridiculously smooth. Next was Super Duper Looper, which is also unnaturally smooth. We got a back row ride, and the loop was much more intense than I remembered, and the rest of the ride was essentially a fun mine train. I feel lucky to have 2 Schwarzkopf coasters within 2 hours of me. After Super Duper Looper, we had 3 coasters left to hit, and we were sticking to that plan, so next was Sidewinder. Sidewinder solidified my stance of Vekoma boomerangs are great rides, and this one was especially good because it had the comfortable vests that eliminate all possible headbanging. At this point, there were around 2 hours left of park operation, and people were starting to empty out of the park, so sure enough, we wandered over to Wild Mouse, and there was no line. Now, I want to preface that this is of course still just a Wild Mouse, but it's a very good Wild Mouse because it was extremely smooth, and because of how well Hersheypark flawlessly operates this ride, not a single trim touched us, so we had some good airtime in the second half. But once again, it's still just a Wild Mouse. Now we only had 1 coaster left, the 13th coaster of the day, and my third and final new credit, the best yellow and blue coaster at Hersheypark, Coco Cruiser. I felt kinda bad because there is a decent line for Coco Cruiser, and I don't like to take spots away from kids, but it's a meme, so I just had to ride it. If it were any other kiddie coaster other than Lil Phantom, I probably would have skipped it. Now we had about an hour and a half left for re-rides, and after moseying over to Fahrenheit to find it down for the rest of the day, our first re-ride was on Skyrush, which was just as good as before, probably even better because it had warmed up, and thus it was even more intense. Then we decided to get some ice cream. I would have gotten one of the king-size shakes, but if I got that, I probably would have been there eating until the park opened the next day. So I just got the double dunker waffle cone, which is still delicious. Our plan at that point was to get a ride on Candymonium then leave, but the line was spilling out onto the midway, so instead we sped back to the Hollow, got a ride on Great Bear and then Comet, which were both great, and our day was over. So as you might be able to tell, this is my first time trying to do a video like this, so if there's any way that I can improve this series that will continue, let me know down in the comments. Overall, this visit solidified Hersheypark as my second favorite amusement park, slotted under Cedar Point and above Universal's Islands of Adventure. They have such a diverse collection of rides, and I thought that maybe it would feel like they were missing something with Stormrunner closed, but it still felt like they had a really complete lineup anyhow. I think maybe if they got a Premier Rides launch coaster or a B&M dive, they would probably have a lineup to rival Cedar Point, if they don't already. My next video will be a ranking of Hersheypark's coasters, and I plan to visit the park again this year, so stay tuned for more Hersheypark content. With that said, remember to like, comment, subscribe, Mang. If you enjoyed the video, leave any suggestions, thoughts, or video ideas down in the comments below. I'll catch you guys later. See ya.